Don't spend that Lincoln penny yet, because the right year, mint mark, and error can turn pocket change into a collector's jackpot. The 1983 D Lincoln penny belongs to a strange chapter in American coin history. The moment when one of the most familiar coins in the country quietly changed what it was made of. To most people, it looks like a normal 1-cent coin. Small, copper-colored, lightweight, and easy to ignore. But behind that simple appearance is a story of metal shortages, production changes, minting pressure, and rare mistakes that can turn an ordinary penny into a serious collector's prize. By 1983, the Lincoln cent was no longer the same coin it had been for most of the 20th century. For decades, pennies were made mostly of copper. They had a heavier feel, a richer tone, and a composition collectors could recognize instantly. But as copper prices rose, it became too expensive to keep producing cents the old way. The cost of the metal inside the coin was becoming a problem. So the U.S. Mint made a major change. In 1982, the mint transitioned from the older bronze cent to a lighter copper-plated zinc cent. By 1983, the new composition was fully in use. That means a normal 1983 D Lincoln penny should be made of zinc with a thin copper coating on the outside. It should weigh 2.50 grams, not the older bronze weight of 3.11 grams. That one detail is extremely important, because when collectors search through 1983 pennies, weight becomes one of the first clues. A normal 1983 D penny should weigh about 2.50 grams. But if a 1983 D cent weighs around 3.11 grams, that immediately raises a serious question. Was it struck on an older bronze planchet by mistake? Was a leftover copper planchet somehow used after the transition? Is it a rare transitional error? That is where the story becomes powerful. Imagine a collector sitting at a table with a pile of pennies. Most people would see nothing special, just a handful of small copper-colored coins. But the collector places each coin on a precision scale. One reads 2.50 grams. Another reads 2.49. Another 2.51. Normal, expected, common. Then one coin lands on the scale, and the number is different. Not slightly different from dirt or wear. Not a tiny variation. A meaningful difference. A weight that does not belong to that year. That single moment can change everything. The 1983 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, shown by the small d, mint mark below the date. The obverse carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design used from 1959 until 2008. It is one of the most recognizable coins in American history, and because so many were produced, most people assume they are all common. But mass production is exactly why errors can exist. Inside the mint, the process was fast and highly controlled. Blank planchets were prepared, copper-plated zinc blanks were fed into presses, and the dies struck Lincoln's portrait and the memorial design with powerful force. The goal was consistency. Every coin had to be the same size, same weight, same design, same composition. But in any system producing millions of coins, mistakes can slip through. A planchet from the wrong metal can enter the press. A coin can be struck off-center. A die can crack after heavy use. A planchet can have plating problems. A coin can be struck through grease, leaving weak or missing details. A die can show doubling, creating visible duplication in letters or numbers. For the 1983 D Lincoln penny, one of the most exciting possibilities is the transitional bronze planchet error. This would mean the coin was struck using an older copper alloy blank, even though 1983 cents were supposed to be copper-plated zinc. That type of mistake is extremely rare because the composition change had already happened. If confirmed, it becomes much more than just a penny. It becomes evidence of a planchet mix-up during one of the most important transitions in modern U.S. coinage. That is why weight matters so much. A zinc 1983 D cent should weigh 2.50 grams. An older bronze cent planchet weighs about 3.11 grams. The difference is large enough that a good digital scale can detect it immediately. But weight alone is not enough. A coin must also be checked for diameter, thickness, surface, sound, and professional authentication. Some damaged coins can be misleading. Some altered coins can fool beginners. Serious collectors need proof. Another error collectors look for on 1983D pennies is doubling. A double die can show extra thickness or separation in the lettering, date, or design. Beginners often confuse true double dies with machine doubling, but they are not the same. A true double die starts during die creation, meaning the doubling is part of the tool that struck the coin. Machine doubling usually happens during the strike and is generally less valuable. Off-center strikes are easier to see. If the coin was not properly centered when struck, part of the design may be missing. A strong off-center 1983D penny with a clear date can attract attention because it is visually dramatic and easy to understand. The more dramatic the error, while still keeping important details visible, the more collectors tend to care. Plating errors are also common areas of interest for copper-plated zinc cents. Since these coins have a zinc core and a thin copper coating, problems can appear as bubbles, peeling, missing copper, or exposed zinc. Some plating issues are minor, but dramatic examples can still be collectible. However, collectors must be careful because corrosion and post-mint damage can also affect the surface. This is where the difference between damage and a real mint error becomes critical. A penny scratched after circulation is not the same as an error made at the mint. A coin damaged by chemicals, heat, or corrosion may look strange, but that does not automatically make it valuable. Real collector value comes from mistakes that happened during the minting process. Condition also plays a huge role. A rare error in poor condition may still be interesting, but a rare error in high grade becomes far more powerful. Collectors want sharp details, clean surfaces, strong color, visible date and mint mark, and minimal damage. Professional grading services help confirm all of this. They identify the error, authenticate the coin, and assign a grade that gives buyers confidence. The 1983D Lincoln penny is exciting because it teaches one of the most important lessons in coin collecting. Modern coins can still hide major secrets. A coin does not need to be from the 1800s to be valuable. Sometimes the most important factor is not age, it is transition. A change in composition, a leftover planchet, a wrong metal blank, a mistake at exactly the wrong moment. That is why people still search rolls of pennies. That is why old jars matter. That is why inherited collections should never be dumped into a coin machine without checking. A penny that looks ordinary may carry a story hidden in its weight. So if you find a 1983D Lincoln penny, do not rush past it. Look at the date. Check the D mint mark. Study the Lincoln Memorial. Examine the color, edge, thickness, and surface. Then weigh it carefully. If it weighs around 2.50 grams, it is likely the normal zinc version. But if it weighs close to 3.11 grams, stop immediately and have it examined because that could point to a rare transitional planchet error. Most 1983D pennies are common, but the rare examples, the ones with the right error, the right metal, the right condition, and professional authentication, can become extraordinary. And now comes the final price reveal. If a 1983D Lincoln penny is confirmed as an exceptional rare error, especially with the kind of transitional planchet mistake collectors dream about, its value can reach around $239,000. That is why even a single penny deserves attention, because sometimes the smallest coin in your change carries the biggest secret. The 1996 Lincoln penny is the kind of coin almost no one stops to respect. It feels too modern to be rare, too familiar to be mysterious, and too common to be valuable. It is the kind of coin people leave in cup holders, drop in a tip jar, sweep into drawers, or ignore on the sidewalk. But sometimes, the coin everyone dismisses is the one hiding the most surprising story. By 1996, the Lincoln cent had already become one of the most recognized coins in American history. Abraham Lincoln's portrait had been on the 1-cent coin since 1909, and the Lincoln Memorial reverse had been used since 1959. For millions of Americans, the design was almost invisible because they had seen it their entire lives. It was not exciting. It was not new. It was just a penny. But in numismatics, familiarity can be dangerous. The more common a coin looks, the less people examine it. And the less people examine it, the easier it is for rare errors to hide in plain sight. The 1996 Lincoln penny was struck during the copper-plated zinc era. That means it was not made from solid bronze like older wheat pennies. A normal 1996 Lincoln cent has a zinc core covered with a thin copper plating. Its official weight is 2.50 grams. This detail is extremely important because modern Lincoln cents are lightweight, and even a small difference in weight can raise important questions. A normal 1996 penny should weigh close to 2.50 grams. If it weighs much less, it may have plating loss, damage, corrosion, or possibly a thin planchet error. If it weighs noticeably more, collectors begin to ask a different question. Was it struck on the wrong planchet? Was it struck on an unusual blank? Is there something hidden beneath that copper-colored surface? That is why serious collectors do not simply look at a coin and move on. They test it. They weigh it. They compare it. They study the edge, the color, the thickness, and the design. A tiny coin can carry evidence, and the scale is often the first witness. Now, picture the U.S. Mint in the mid-1990s. Coins are being produced by the millions, moving quickly through a system built for speed and precision. Copper-plated zinc blanks are prepared, cleaned, and fed into powerful presses. The obverse die strikes Lincoln's portrait, while the reverse die strikes the Lincoln Memorial. In a fraction of a second, a blank disc becomes money. Everything is supposed to be perfect, but perfection becomes difficult when machines are moving at high speed. A planchet can be imperfect before the strike. A coin can be struck slightly off-center. A die can crack. Grease or debris can block part of the design. The copper plating can blister, peel, or fail to cover the zinc core properly. And in rare cases, a wrong planchet can enter the press. That is when an ordinary 1996 penny can become extraordinary. One of the most interesting error types on modern Lincoln cents is the off-center strike. This happens when the planchet is not properly positioned between the dies. The result is a design that appears shifted with part of the coin left blank. A small off-center error may not be extremely valuable, but a dramatic one with a clear date can attract serious collector attention. Another important category is the struck-through error. This happens when something gets between the die and the planchet during striking. It may be grease, cloth, metal fragments, or other debris. When the coin is struck, that object blocks part of the design, leaving weak letters, missing details, or strange impressions. Some struck-through errors are minor, but strong examples can look dramatic and unusual. Modern zinc cents are also known for plating errors. Because the coin has a zinc core and copper coating, problems can appear in the plating. Some coins show bubbles, peeling, missing copper, or exposed zinc. These can be interesting, especially when the error is clearly mint-made. But collectors must be careful. Environmental damage, corrosion, or chemical exposure can also affect the surface. A true mint error must show that the problem happened during production, not after years in circulation. Double dies are another area collectors inspect. A true double die happens when the die itself receives a misaligned impression during its creation. This can create doubling in the date, letters, or design details. On a 1996 penny, collectors may look closely at Liberty, In God We Trust, the date, and details around the Lincoln Memorial. But again, it is important to separate true double dies from machine doubling, which is much more common and usually less valuable. Wrong planchet errors are among the most exciting possibilities. If a 1996 Lincoln cent was struck on a planchet intended for another coin, the weight, size, thickness, or metal appearance would not match a normal cent. A penny struck on a dime planchet, foreign planchet, or unusual blank would immediately become important if authenticated. These errors are rare because the mint has strong controls, but when one escapes, collectors pay attention. Condition also plays a major role. A 1996 penny that has been scratched, corroded, or heavily circulated may not attract much interest. But a high-grade coin with strong color, clean surfaces, sharp details, and a verified mint error can be completely different. Collectors look for coins that are not only rare, but also visually appealing. This is where grading becomes important. Professional grading services examine the coin, confirm whether the error is real, and assign a grade. That authentication gives the coin credibility. Without it, a strange-looking penny may only be a guess. With it, the coin becomes a recognized collectible. The real lesson of the 1996 Lincoln penny is that modern coins should not be ignored. Many people believe only old coins are valuable, but that is not true. Sometimes modern coins become valuable because they were made during high-speed production and one unusual mistake slipped through unnoticed. And these coins can still be found in ordinary places. They may be sitting in jars, drawers, coin rolls, old wallets, or containers of loose change. Most people never check them. They never weigh them. They never look at the edge or study the lettering. They see a penny and think it cannot matter. But collectors know that 1 cent can tell a much bigger story. So if you find a 1996 Lincoln penny, slow down. Look at the date. Study Lincoln's portrait and the memorial reverse. Check the edge, the color, the thickness, and the surface. Search for doubling, off-center design, plating problems, missing details, or strange marks that may point to a minting error. Then weigh it carefully and compare it with the official 2.50 grams. Most 1996 Lincoln pennies are common and worth only face value. But if one carries an extraordinary, authenticated mint error, strong condition, rare planchet anomaly, and serious collector demand, its story changes completely. And now, at the end, comes the value reveal. A rare 1996 Lincoln penny error coin with the right combination of rarity, authentication, condition, and collector interest can be valued up to around $167,000. That is why even the smallest modern coin deserves a closer look. Because sometimes the penny everyone ignores is the one carrying the secret. The 2001 Lincoln penny belongs to a world that still feels close enough to remember, but far enough away to feel different. It was the beginning of a new century, a new millennium, and a time when America was changing quickly. People were carrying flip phones, using early internet connections, watching the world move faster, and still receiving small copper-colored pennies in their everyday change. To most people, a 2001 penny is almost invisible. It is the kind of coin that falls between car seats, sits at the bottom of a drawer, or gets tossed into a jar without a second thought. It looks too modern to be rare, too common to be exciting, too small to matter. But sometimes the smallest coins are the ones that hide the strangest secrets. The 2001 Lincoln penny features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the same powerful portrait that had appeared on the cent for generations. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been used since 1959. Inside that tiny building, if the coin is sharply struck, you can even see the small statue of Lincoln seated in the center. That detail is one reason collectors still enjoy studying these memorial cents closely. By 2001, the Lincoln cent was no longer made like the older copper pennies from before 1982. A normal 2001 penny is made from a zinc core with a thin copper plating on the outside. Its official weight is 2.50 grams. This number is very important because weight is one of the fastest ways to detect whether a coin might be normal or unusual. A standard 2001 Lincoln penny should weigh close to 2.50 grams. If it weighs much less, it may have damage, corrosion, plating loss, or possibly a thin planchet error. If it weighs more than expected, collectors begin asking bigger questions. Was it struck on the wrong planchet? Was the metal composition unusual? Did something slip into the minting process that should never have been there? That is where the story becomes interesting. Imagine someone sorting through a jar of pennies late at night. The coins are ordinary, dull, and mixed together by year. Most people would dump them into a coin machine, but a collector sees them differently. One by one, each penny is checked. The date, the mint mark, the edge, the surface, the color, the weight. A 2001 penny is placed on a digital scale. If it reads around 2.50 grams, it may be normal. But if the number looks wrong, the coin suddenly becomes a mystery. Inside the mint, coins are made at incredible speed. Blank planchets are prepared, cleaned, and fed into machines. The dies strike Lincoln's portrait on one side and the memorial on the other. Thousands of coins are produced in a continuous rhythm. The process is designed for precision, but no production system is perfect. Errors can happen in many ways. A planchet can be too thin. The copper plating can bubble or peel. The coin can be struck off-center. A die can crack. Grease can block part of the design. A blank intended for another denomination can accidentally enter the press. Most of these mistakes are caught, but a few can escape into circulation. And those few are the coins collectors search for. One possible error on a 2001 Lincoln penny is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned between the dies during striking. The design appears shifted, and part of the coin may be blank. A small off-center error may only bring mild interest, but a dramatic off-center strike with the date still visible can become much more collectible. Another error to watch for is a struck-through error. This happens when something gets between the die and the planchet at the moment of striking. It could be grease, cloth, metal fragments, or debris. The result may be missing letters, weak details, or unusual shapes pressed into the coin. Strong struck-through errors can look very dramatic, especially when they affect Lincoln's face or the memorial reverse. Plating errors are also important on modern zinc pennies. Since the coin has a zinc core and copper coating, the plating can sometimes fail. Some coins show bubbles, peeling, cracks, or exposed zinc. But collectors must be careful. Not every strange surface is valuable. Corrosion, chemicals, heat, and damage after circulation can also change the coin's appearance. A true mint error must show that the problem happened during production. Double dies are another area collectors inspect carefully. A true double die is created when the die itself receives a misaligned impression during its creation. This can produce doubling in the date, letters, or design details. On a 2001 penny, areas like Liberty, In God We Trust, the date, and the memorial lettering should be checked closely. But machine doubling is much more common, so beginners need to compare carefully before assuming a coin is rare. Wrong planchet errors are among the most exciting possibilities. If a 2001 Lincoln penny was struck on a planchet meant for another coin, the weight, size, color, and thickness would not match a normal cent. A cent struck on a dime planchet, a foreign planchet, or an unusual metal blank would be extremely unusual and would need professional authentication. These are the types of errors that can push a coin far beyond ordinary value. Condition also matters. A rare error coin with scratches, corrosion, or heavyware may lose much of its appeal. But a clean, high-grade error with sharp detail and strong eye appeal can attract serious collector attention. The difference between an average coin and a top-condition coin can be enormous. That is why professional grading is so important. A grading service can confirm whether the coin is genuine, whether the error happened at the mint, and what grade the coin deserves. Without authentication, a strange penny is only a possibility. With authentication, it becomes a recognized collectible. The 2001 Lincoln penny teaches an important lesson. Value is not always about age. Many people think only very old coins can be valuable, but modern coins can also become important when they carry the right error. Sometimes a coin becomes special because of a wrong planchet. Sometimes because of a dramatic strike. Sometimes because of a rare production mistake that almost nobody noticed. And these coins can still be found in ordinary places. Coin jars, old drawers, bank rolls, change from stores, forgotten boxes. A penny that looks common may have been waiting for years for someone to check it properly. So if you find a 2001 Lincoln penny, do not dismiss it immediately. Look at the date. Study Lincoln's portrait. Examine the memorial. Check the edge, color, thickness, and surface. Search for doubling, missing details, off-center design, plating problems, or anything that looks unusual. Then weigh it carefully and compare it to the official 2.50 grams. Most 2001 Lincoln pennies are common, but if one carries an extraordinary authenticated error, elite condition, rare planchet anomaly, and major collector demand, the story can become unbelievable. And now, at the end, comes the price reveal. A rare 2001 Lincoln penny error coin with the right combination of rarity, authentication, condition, and collector interest can be valued up to $89,740. That is why even one small penny should never be ignored. Because sometimes the coin everyone overlooks is the one hiding the biggest secret.